Aussies are certainly taking to this whole hard enduro thing. The Kozzie Killer is one of our newest events. One of the biggest questions for us everyday trail hacks are hard enduros too difficult for us? Well, here is a lap of the Trail Hacks course, so you get to find out for yourself. And kudos to the guys at Grassroots Enduro. There has been a growing feeling among many enduro racers that the fun side of racing has been disappearing. So the Grassroots Enduro guys have created a series that is fun, cheap and family friendly.
Yeah, man.
Where possible, they hold events in rural areas that could really use some inflow of cash. And they are organising non-competitive events too for those who aren't really into racing. Great work, guys. Keep it up. Okay, let's ride. Guys, I am on the Beta Cross trainer and my brother Jeff is ahead on the RR300. Very dusty as we head up the first hill. I should mention too, we aren't really racing. I have mentioned in previous Kozzie Killer vids that I am only a marshal, so I'm really just doing this lap looking for people who need help, injured, broken down bikes. And Jeff, of course, he's not racing either. He's actually at the tail end of a very bad flu, so he's had no preparation, no exercise for a few weeks. So he's just really taking it easy. So there are our excuses for going slow. We've got another entrant coming in from one of the other classes. We always try and pull over and let these guys through when we can. Certainly a lot of good manners on this enduro course. It's always been surprising just how polite people are, even the pro riders. Very off camber here. Just have to be careful. In certain sections here, it doesn't look that steep, but it's surprising how you could actually start a roll if you slipped out. Let this guy through as well. You would have noticed at the beginning, very dry, but as we get up into the more shaded parts of the countryside, the soil is definitely tackier and there's less dust. Trying to avoid wheel spin up here. Again, it's not terribly steep, or it may not look steep, but you really have to struggle to not slip the wheel. Jeff took a line to the right that looked easier, but of course it meant he had to hit this steep a bit later on.
Whoa! Hit the rear brake for some reason.
This is where the hill gradually gets steeper and steeper. We should come across some guys struggling up here soon.
Yeehaw. Just a gentle bit.
The first guy I find having a bit of a struggle.
In the rear.
What dodgy advice can I give him?
Yeah, mate, just keep your weight right back. Slip the clutch gently. It's surprisingly grippy. Good luck. Let the dust clear a bit.
I've been a little bit paranoid about my air filter. The beaters are actually really quite tricky getting the air filters in right. And I remember one day, rechecking my filter after a ride and going, shit, it wasn't even on properly.
Bugger. Foot down. Shit. Really surprised when it's stalling sometimes lately.
Thankfully, there'd been no dust, but it made me think this sort of thing can be pretty bad. So I just tend to stay out of dust nowadays, no matter what.
Ah, bugger. Come on. No, that's cool. Yeah, the arms are feeling it a bit.
Yeah, so mine are cramping up, so...
Man, it's crazy. It isn't terribly steep, but it really is hard work. It sorts out the men from the boys. I know the very experienced riders were just flying up here in third gear. They've got the fitness, they've got the skills. There are only a few little bits like this where we could pick up a little bit of speed. The moment it got a bit too slippery or rocky or we were hitting roots, slowing down again. I overtake Jeff here because I just think I've got the momentum. Only for a few seconds though. He's not far behind.
That was a good run.
Very loose here and reasonably steep, but as long as we keep our weight right on the back of the seat and keep the weight on the seat, the rear wheel hooks up pretty well. See how he's right back on the seat? And he's only just touching the ground with his feet just to keep balance. If you actually push on the ground with your feet, of course, you're de-weighting the rear, it will just spin up. All sorts of lines developed on this side of the hill, just guys trying to find a slightly easier way up, especially in the early stages of the race when it was very crowded. So we're just taking this line to the left and see how difficult or easy it is.
We've got multiple lines now. Heaps of speed up there. That's quite hard. Maybe an easy one ahead.
Jeff's not only taking time to pick a good line, but taking a rest break as well because of his flu. Makes a lot of sense taking breaks when you need them in a hard enduro.
Oh, good run.
Although I've spoken to some experienced riders who suggest if you can, instead of stopping, just really back off and keep moving slowly. They do say that in an endurance event, often you tend to start locking up once you stop. I think Jeff's bike is locking up. And by locking up, of course, I just mean sore joints can feel worse after a break. As your body cools down, the aches and cramps come out more. So if you are riding hard enduros, see how you go. If you're really, really tired, maybe experiment with just slowing right down instead of actually stopping.
Full control.
Yeah. Yep. Take a break if you want.
These are the sections where even a little bit of speed makes such a big difference. You can see the size of the rocks here. A bit of momentum, you will get over them. But if you're at a standstill, you just start digging holes.
I'm seeing nothing in these goggles. Too much dust on them now. Damn it. Which way did Jeff go? Straight up or around? Nasty rocks there. Oh. This looks much harder.
And speaking of rocks, in the faster sections, we did actually have an issue with our tubeless. Over to Scotty. Well guys, we've got our first failure. Scott's just pulled in with unbuggered tubeless. The theory is he had his tyres very low like we always do. A rock must have come in and really punched the hell out of that. As you can see what the high pressure tube's done. And of course that just let the inner one blow. So yeah, look, it's not a bad thing. We've been using tubeless for so long on I think 5 bikes for 3 years, and this is the first time we've had an issue. Scott's incredibly lucky because Ben brought one along, which I think Ben has sold for $300 or $500? $500? Yeah, that's fair.
And naming his firstborn after him.
So this is a pretty typical pace for us intermediate riders, slogging our way up and of course stopping to wheeze like an asthmatic walrus. Then you can see the much better riders coming through on the straight, steeper section with good speed.
Here would be Ruben Chadwick.
Sigh. Oh well, thoroughly demoralised by those guys, we just go back to slogging up the supposedly easier cheats track. There were just such a multitude of lines up this hill. I've opted to go slightly to the left here just so I don't have to try and get around this guy stopped up ahead. And that's pretty much it, guys. The biggest hill out of the lot. There certainly are other ones in this event though. Woohoo!
Hi Pinky. Ka-ching.
Couldn't get my feet on pegs. Feels like my legs have got no energy.
Yeah.
I couldn't lift them back up.
Yeah. Pushing bikes uphill. Man, hard work. His clutch is gone. Pushing it uphill.
So as a marshal, yes, I am here to help riders, although I must say I'm not actually here to help KTM riders. Sorry guys, here is why.
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Except for KTM riders.
One thing I did want to mention, someone saw the earlier vids and I assume they were a greenie. They got into me and the event organisers, everyone, for chewing up this hill. But we should state there was a lot of negotiation with the property owner because the event organisers want to make sure they're not causing any permanent damage with these events. And the property owner was really happy after the event. He said, yes, you have not caused problems, all of this will repair itself. He was happy to stage the event again next year. I've actually been doing some research into the alleged environmental damage caused by dirt bikes and other recreational vehicles. And what I'm finding interesting, there's not actually that much proof out there. I'm going to do a vid on this at some point in the future. It's taking a lot of work, but I'll try and get a really objective overview of the amount of damage that dirt bikes do cause to the environment, and whether it's anywhere near the claimed damage that the greenies accuse us of.
All good?
Come to rescue me.
What happened?
Oh, it just stopped running. I think it's overheated and it won't start again.
Bugger. Yeah, shit.
And now I think this is an appropriate moment for some really fucking soppy music.
Turn toward me, look so weak. I've never seen you with such tired eyes. And everything we said we'd be, we just traded for a suit coat and a tie.
Okay, enough of that.
Whoop. Just want to play it very safe on that one.
Back to tubeless, guys. I did a video a long time ago comparing tubes and mooses and the tubeless system, and I think it was pretty comprehensive, but guys keep asking me the same old questions, so please see that video. But earlier when we looked at Scott's damaged tubeless, this is why I tend to say if people are doing serious hard enduro events regularly, or they're riding over rocky ground quite aggressively, yes, tubeless are probably not the best option. You should go mooses. People think that because I use tubeless and I like them, I'm saying everyone should use them. Not true. Everything suits different purposes. Check the video out. That's all I'm going to say about it. Bloody hell, I'm riding slower than a wet week through here. Okay, let's see if a bit of techno music will liven it up. Nope. Let's try the turbo and nitro boost again.
I had to push that guy uphill.
Oh no.
Catching up with Jeff.
These downhills are pretty tricky. Again, they don't look steep, but there's always that risk. The front wheel goes out, and we did see some guys take some pretty long tumbles down here.
Take it easy. Jeff's getting a bit tired now, so don't want him crashing. Or me. Whew. Damn. Not massively steep, but it's the rocks.
I think the Grassroots Enduro guys really struck a good balance with this event. There were just a small number of guys who couldn't get up the first hill and eventually just pulled out of the event. The vast majority did get around, many, of course, with a lot of struggle and burnt out clutch plates as well.
I think I'd rather get out of these ruts. And the dust.
But overall, I think they really nailed the difficulty levels well for the different classes. You can see this is where the course really opens up for a while before it gets to the next set of hills. Now, we're going to turn back at this point. Jeff is absolutely shagged again because he's only just getting over the flu. However, guys, if you want to hang around, just going to show the rest of the track. So feel free to hang around, but some more single track. Nothing focuses the attention like trying to stay on a track that is narrower than your handlebars. Until it gets very tight and gnarly, stand most of the time so you can move your body from side to side to stay on that narrow track. Ride in a higher gear with less revs. The smoother you are, the more likely you stay on track. Learn to slip the clutch out of corners. You can ride surprisingly tight single track in third gear if you slip the clutch through and accelerating out of corners. When cornering, lean the bike, but keep your body upright. If the tyres slip, you can suddenly pull the bike into an upright position. Sometimes you can save the bike instead of crashing. A good way to form this habit is by weighting the inside foot peg into corners instead of turning the handlebars. Also, learn to leg paddle while standing on the foot pegs. When single track gets rutted and nasty, you will often need to put a foot down. And if you can do this while standing, you will get through faster.
Fuck. Got offline then.
Off-camber slopes can be tricky, especially if you lose your front wheel and go tumbling down the slope.
Where's the track?
These tips, courtesy of Tim Coleman's coaching. Use the default body position. This keeps the front wheel light and less likely to slip downhill. Lean the bike into the hill, keep your body upright. This increases traction, and if your wheels do slip, you might be able to save the bike by whipping it into the upright position. You are also more likely to fall uphill than downhill if the shit hits the fan.
Gave him a bit of a push then. I don't know if he wanted it or not.
So weight the outside or downhill foot peg. This keeps your inside leg light so you are ready to put your foot down if you lose balance or the wheels slip.
To get a proper wheelie. That's a nice view.
open track. Time for some more nitro thrust.
Cool. It's not very steep, but the rocks certainly make it tricky. You almost made it.
Quite a few guys struggle with this little climb. I think it's because it has a corner or two and the dirt is getting quite chopped up.
Ruben Chadwick. Ruben! Go mate, it's probably second place. Oh well, let's see if I can catch Ruben. Ha!
Anyway, I've been crapping on for ages. I'll just shut up for a bit on the home leg of the prologue track. excellent, some more off-camber track. Use gentle throttle control for off-camber slopes. Consider using a higher gear and slipping the clutch constantly. If the rear wheel does slide downhill, whatever you do, don't grab a big handful of throttle. Extreme Enduro is really starting to take off in Australia, and the Kosciusko Killer is the latest addition. Both rider and bike were put to the test during this all-natural terrain hard enduro event in the stunning alpine region of Victoria. And of course, the alpine region means massive climbs and ridiculous descents. It was great to see riders of all skill levels having a go. The organisers made sure that even the bronze class had some very tough climbs. But there were marshals and volunteers on hand to help everyone through. And it was awesome to see most riders manage to finish at least one lap. But the smell of overheated clutch plates was hanging in the air. The Kosciusko Killer is one of the new events being developed by Grassroots Enduro Australia. Their approach? Putting the fun back into enduro with spectator-friendly events for riders of all skill levels and even the juniors. Spectators could camp on site and even sign on as volunteers to get their hands dirty helping riders through the tougher sections. So how good do you need to be for events like this? Well, you want at least intermediate dirt riding skills and a basic grasp of techniques like hill climbs, how to dismount instead of crashing, how to get traction when you are stuck, and how to pace yourself. Check out the cross-training enduro vids to get yourself on the way.
Ooh. Oh, it's hard on the arms. Can't see anything.
The skill of Australia's best hard enduro riders is off the scale. Many of us didn't think they would even manage one lap when we saw how hard the gold sections were.
I assume this is silver.
Congratulations to Tim Coleman on leading from start to finish, including his trademark wheelie across the finish line. So there you have it, that's the Silver Prologue track. A massive thanks to all the organisers, marshals, volunteers, local community and especially the property owners for letting us tear around their place.
Oh, forgot about this. I'm just going to bash plate this because my energy's pretty low. I punched it last time, but yeah, if you get a bit fatigued, it's better to take one extra second, do it an easy way.
And kudos to Greg Peterson for pulling off such a good job on his very first enduro event.
Could you make way for the pro rider, mate?
It is